Hello, Kingdom Giants. My name is Priscilla Fayomi, and I'm here to share with you my testimony of how God settled me gloriously maritally. I remember it was the year 2021, and the theme of IAC that year was In Pursuit of Excellence. I was in a previous relationship as at that time already heading to marriage. But 2 months into our wedding day, I discovered something very shocking about my partner. I had already had laid down rules, of which we talked about it before we even started dating, that I wouldn't like a man who was into smoking, drinking. And he was a very God-fearing person. He showed me all the things that I wanted to see. We were always praying together, always studying the word together. I felt like this was it for me. And so we started planning our wedding. I remember that Sunday, I was just returning from church. I did first service because he was not a member of this church. I decided to, just go and surprise him at home. I thought he would be at church as at then because I had my own copy of Key to his house. And so I got into his apartment. Surprisingly, his door was open. I was like, oh wow, he didn't go to church today. And then I got in and I noticed that some discrepancies here and there. I saw white stuff. I'm not supposed to mention it, but you all know when I said saw white stuff. And I saw the man who was supposedly to be God-fearing and a prayer warrior and a powerhouse was drugged and overdosed. And it was a very surprising picture for me. When I saw him, I was like, my God, what is this? And then we had a squabble then. We argued, I shouted, I was emotional because it was surprising. This is just way beyond just smoking cigarettes. This is like hard drugs, like completely hard drugs. And so when we had that squabble then, it resulted in me being hit by him. So I was not only dealing with a man who was into hard drugs, I was also dealing with a man who puts his hand on a woman. It was a very scary period that Sunday, but somehow after I'd left, I had to come back to myself and say, is this the kind of marriage I wanted to be in? We had already sold ashwebis, we had already printed cards, invited families and friends. Everybody was expectant, but I had to think deep. I said, marriage is for a lifetime. Am I going to be in here? Although there were apologies, he apologized. He promised to go through rehab. He said he just needed me to support him, And a lot of people close to me then, were saying, oh, come on, you can pray about it. You can, have faith. It can work out. When you are with him, things will change. But I told myself that I had known what God had planned for me maritally, and this was not it. And so I took the bold step of faith. After communicating with my spiritual fathers, communicating with my family, they also supported me, and I called off that wedding 2 months to the wedding day. I was heartbroken, I can't lie. I was very emotional. For a while, I had a bit of repel for any church boy. In fact, when you come and you speak in tongues, it's doing me somehow because I had one that spoke in tongues almost every day, and then this was what he was. And so in the year 2022, that was the theme for IAC then, was Destined for Dominion. I was in a singles class for the specialized class where we were taught on how to hear from God, how to identify your partner, how to make specific demands for what you want. And so after that class, I prayed. I said, God, I just need a man who has 50% of the spirit that is in my father in the Lord, Bishop David Oyedepo. I said, God, I'm not greedy. I don't want 100%. If it's just 50%, take up, give it to me. And I said, a man who fears you more than any other person. And I know a man who fears God is a man who would love God and a man who would love me unconditionally as well. And so my husband showed up.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You see this man here? He say he want to marry me. Nah, collect ring, but what do you people think? Should this baby girl marry this gentleman? Gentleman, talk to the people, Ngwana. They will be the one to judge.
Because I made a vow in my heart that that was going to be my last single specialized meeting I was going to be in. When he showed up, he came with the whole firebrand. And at first, I did push him away. I can't lie. Because I was wary of church boys and what I had been through before. But you see, it was so easy to know that this was the real deal. No matter how hard I pushed him away, and God, I did push him away, but he was still very steadfast. He was a man who was so passionate for souls, soul winning, kingdom advancement prayer. He was a vibrant leader in the youth ministry right here in church. And yes, of course, I met him during the youth meeting, right? And when God finally opened my eyes to see that this was my husband, it was so fast. It was so quick. That's how God does his thing, sharp, sharp. We don't wear ring for 10 years and, turn to Lord of the Rings, right? So when he engaged me, he told me once that I was the one whom he has been praying for. And I knew at once that this was it this time around. And that's how it happened. In the year 2022, I was gloriously married. And you know what? I used to always be worried that when I was calling up my wedding in 2021, that my friends are married, my colleagues, the people who went to church, to school together, they were all married. Some had one child, some had 2 children. I was asking myself, what's happening? Everybody had thought that, me, Priscilla, will be one of the first people to be married, but what was going on? So I was a bit worried then. But when my husband showed up, you know how God does it? It was so glorious. We got married, and that same month, the God of Sharp Sharp showed up. We were blessed with our first son, Oluwadumusi Bayomi, the most precious child ever. And the blessing so far has been so amazing. It has been blessings upon blessings in our careers, in our businesses, in our finances, and let me tell you, God is here. God is here in the Youthalive ministry, and he hears us anytime we ask him or call unto him. And this is my testimony today. I'm on my way to baby number 2, and I still cannot begin to count the blessings that I have gotten just for being dedicated, just for being connected, just for being a lover of God. And I hope that my testimony will ignite the fire in you singles out there to make the right decisions, to also be open to hearing from God, so that you too can be gloriously and maritally settled.